Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Let's Taste with the Intrepid Wino. My name is James Scarsbrook. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Very excited to have been contacted by Ben from Witchmount Estate. Witchmount is a winery. I think it's one of the closest wineries with a vineyard to the city of Melbourne, in fact, in the Sunbury region. And that kind of area is pretty well known for its Shiraz. I remember many years ago when I was sort of still in the first couple of years of working in the wine industry, I think Witchmount won some Shiraz or red wine trophy. I think it was over in Europe maybe, and it got reported in the newspaper, and they sort of sold out straight away. I think I did visit many years ago, and it was just after that, and I remember talking about it. So Witchmount has a lovely visitor centre and a restaurant there, so definitely worth a visit. And really, when it's, I think, half an hour from the city centre, you've got no excuses to not visit. But Ben dropped off some samples for me to look at, a rosé and a red wine, so I'm very excited. And the first wine I'm going to look at, I have my personal opinion, as far as my tastes at least, is that Sangiovese is, as a grape variety, is ideal for the production of rosé wine. In fact, it's my favourite rosé wine variety, and you know, of course, Sangiovese, Italian grape. I'm always going to be fairly supportive. So I'm really interested to see what this 2016 Witchmount Sangiovese Rosé looks like. The recommended retail for this wine is $19. So let's have a look. So colour-wise, it's reasonably pale, a lovely sort of salmon colour. It's not particularly pink or dark at all. It's quite bright. You know, nice, clean, fresh Sangiovese rosé aromatics. You know, stuff like raspberries, cherry tomatoes, a little bit of sort of cranberry action as well. Quite fragrant, but not super intense, and doesn't look particularly fruit sweet either. Let's taste. Well, there's certainly some fruit on the palate, and a bit of alcohol as well. There is a sort of a candied character coming through on the palate. If I look at it, it's up around 13.5% alcohol, which is not like exceedingly high, but it does look a little bit too ripe. You know, it's not kind of super juby, candied red fruits, you know, which you might see in a Merlot rosé or a Grenache rosé. It still retains some of the slightly more bitter fruits components of you know, that you see in Sangiovese, at least that I see in Sangiovese. But it is sort of more generous, and kind of the colour of the wine, the aromatics to a certain extent, but more so the appearance of the wine belies the ripeness, the intensity, and the warmth of that wine. I think it would be interesting with food, but I think it's probably not quite as fresh and brisk as a lot of people expect rosés to be. So, but look, for $19, that's a pretty good effort. I think that's, you know, there's possibly a little bit of residual sugar in there, but just be careful. If you have that really cold, that might sort of, to a certain extent, distract you from the alcohol. So don't have too many glasses of that, because you might find it has a bit more of an effect on you than you would realise. The second wine that I'm looking at is a variety that surprisingly, at least for me, is kind of a kitschy, cool variety. Cabernet Franc, also from the 2016 vintage. Cab Franc, probably most famous from the Loire Valley, places like Chinon. You do find it, excuse me, you do find it in the southwest, Bordeaux, but it tends to be blended there. And that's, that certainly is the case in Australia in general. Cabernet Franc, at best, is sort of blended with stuff like Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Petit Verdot, that kind of thing. But it surprises me how many young sommeliers and wine consumers are seeking out Cabernet Franc wines, because it is a tough grape to grow. It ripens quite quickly, so it's easy to allow it to get away. I remember there's a scene in the movie Sideways, which if you haven't seen, you should watch it definitely. As soon as you finish watching this video, go and watch Sideways. But he talks about Cabernet Franc on its own being a little bit watery and thin and sometimes quite flabby, and that they can, if they're underripe, they look very green and a bit bitter, and if they're overripe, they're far too broad. And the problem is that being underripe and overripe is a really tight margin, so it really requires picking it at the right point, and more importantly growing it in the right area. So I'm very interested to see what the Cabernet Franc from Witchmount looks like. So there's a bit of colour here, reasonably dark. There is some intensity there. Excuse me. Certainly varietal in nature. On the ripe side, dark fruits, black currants, blackberries, just a little bit of dustiness, which I do like in Cabernet Franc. Let's taste. There's a nice balance here. There is some fruit sweetness here, so it definitely has got enough ripeness in it, but it's not super flabby. It's not kind of thin. There is some nice tannin, a little bit of density of tannin there, without it becoming aggressive. The oak is certainly not playing too much of a role in the wine. So it's not uncommon for Cabernet Franc to often look like Merlot. They can be made that way. And whilst this sort of does show some similarities with a Merlot, the lightness, the freshness, coupled with that the slightly riper characters, the slightly darker fruit characters, are making it lovely. This is a wine that you enjoy if you do. Or if you sort of don't like really heavier styles, really intense tannins, but do like a darker fruited red wine. So this is a really good option. I think the recommended retail is $32. So certainly I would highly recommend that, just to try something different if you are bored of things like Shiraz, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, or even Pinot Noir. Don't get me wrong, Pinot Noir is amazing, but have something different. Definitely, if you're not bored of the other three varieties, you should be. Just a lot of them. Definitely seek out a bottle of the Witchmount Cabernet Franc. It's definitely, for me, the stronger wine of the two here, and it looks quite fancy with the wax and the Diam cork. But thank you very much, of course, to Ben from Witchmount Estate for very generously donating these samples. It was really an honour to taste them. If you'd like to submit some samples, please do get in touch with me. I'm more than happy to open some bottles. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. If you did enjoy, hit that like button. Share the video on social media. Why not leave a comment below? What's your favourite place in the world for Cabernet Franc is my question, and I'd like you to answer it in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the Intrepid Wino YouTube channel. There's over 100 editions of Let's Taste already, and many, many more to come, hopefully. Come and visit me at intrepidwino.com. Make sure you follow me on social media at Intrepid Wino on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You know, you'll find lots of different ways to get in contact with me. And hopefully, I will have some new episodes of my podcast that are being cast very soon. I'm not sure if you're about to hear it in the background, but my newborn baby is having a bit of a cry. So as you can imagine, time is a little bit precious as he is, and I'm trying to find some more time to record new episodes of the podcast. But until then, guys, cheers.